in my opinion, one of the most underrated conversations that we can have in all areas, actually, from spiritual awakening to consciousness expansion to reality shifting, quantum shifting, to ascension, to soul contracts, to purpose, is the concept of alignment. I like to think of alignment as a clock, one of those, not a digital clock, but one of those old-fashioned analog clocks that have the hour and the minutes hand. And my experience of alignment is that you'll be centered on a particular hour with this goal, let's say, of getting to 12 o'clock, midnight. And you'll get in range. And as you creep up to the 12 o'clock, you're going to be at 11:15 and 11:30 and 11:45. And as the minute hand gets closer and closer to your target, what you will observe is certain situations in your life will change accordingly. The decisions that you make, the opportunities that you take, most importantly, what you say no to. When you are conscious about your alignment, you are more targeted in your approach. And this helps the manifestation process. This helps your reality creation process be much more pointed, directed. When you're not aware of alignment, and I didn't used to be, so I would say yes to everything because, just about, because I like new experiences and I love exploring opportunities. And it took me some painful lessons, some painful relationships, to be honest, too, to realize that my priorities were completely out of balance. And I was willing to spend time and energy and money in avenues that weren't necessarily getting me to the dreams that I had, or the partnerships that I deeply craved, or even friendships. And I kept people in my life that didn't treat me right, because I saw something in them that they didn't even see themselves. And I was working so hard to help them reach this potential when they never asked me to. They never wanted me to. In fact, one of them asked me not to. And so when we are investing in people and situations that are not in alignment with us, what it does is it clogs up our energy field. It clogs up our reality stream. And I know that we are all infinite beings out there in the ether, but when we are in this material form, we agree to certain limitations, and this plays out karmically in the structure of our lives, which I'm not a proponent of, but I accept. We are bound by a clock. I hope not for forever, because I find it incredibly linearized and slow, and kind of like a prison, to be honest with you. It's really like a prison. It feels like it. But this is where I'm at. This is where you're at. And so because of that, when you are investing your time, you are needing to be careful and thoughtful of that, because it is actually a limited resource in binary societies. And not to worry, we have plenty of it. But how you parse it out and who you parse it out to becomes very, very important to consider. And when you are unconscious about alignment, then what happens is you waste a lot of time. Now, nothing's really wasted if you learn from the experience and you take the skills and you apply it to other situations and other people. But where I see a lot of suffering is where people have invested in misalignments, and instead of cutting bait or reorganizing their lives, they just sit there. And they have a lot of powerful feelings about it: anger, regret, resentment, frustration, impatience. And so when you are cognizant of your alignment, it takes your decision making to the next level, and it allows you to fine tune and to adjust things. And so now, when you set the goal to be in some place in your life by 20, 30, and you want it to look a certain way, maybe you want to retire early. In today's moment, what decisions would you make that would be in alignment with that? When you're clueless about alignment, you don't think about that. Most people can chart their life direction and create a plan. So I'm not saying that you're clueless. But where we get lost in the details is when we don't finesse it. And there are a lot of subtleties to alignment. Like, are you networking with the right people to get you to that goal in time? Are you pursuing the right hobbies or the right training or skills that would support you in those efforts? Are you self-sabotaging yourself along the way, setting this goal that can never be realized, which then hurts your self-esteem? And sometimes we set goals that are not meant for us, and goals that are not in alignment with us. And then we feel bad about it, but there's no reason to, because the goal was not coming from the right place. And so as that minute hand clicks to 12 o'clock, what you'll find is that you'll start saying no, or you should start saying no, closing off paths, pushing people out of your life that need to be pushed out, creating and forging new connections with other friend groups, saying yes to the right opportunities, waiting until you have those opportunities, and sometimes treading water and putting one foot in front of the other and letting things align on the back end to be manifested in your everyday reality, to pull you even closer to that vortex of opportunity. And so what we see is, I believe, this conditioning in our society to hold on to things far too long. That's a personal opinion. There is merit in sticking it out. I'm not saying that whenever you're confronted with a challenge, that it's the right decision to drop it and move on to something else. But when we consider that alignment is about pulling the pieces of the material world together, like now if you imagine that minute hand is actually an energetic beacon that is reorganizing the structure of the cosmos around you in your personal little vortex, as Abraham Hicks would say. And so now imagine that you are carrying this energetic wand, and through your inspired action, your intention, your emotions, your vibration, all of the essences that create the manifestation pockets is what I want to say. You are creating every single day. And when everything is in coherence and in alignment, that means that it's like the fingers on your hand are starting to close together and scrunch up in this little ball where every single finger is touching almost each other. And that's what alignment is, where your intention, your thoughts, your behavior, your actions, your emotions, your energy vibrations, they're all synced together. And there's nothing that's pulling in the wrong direction. When you're misaligned, it's like taking those fingers that want to close together to create this little cone. It's like the ring finger pulls out. That's your mind. It's telling you you can't do it, you shouldn't do it, even though your heart and your emotions and your energy is like, yes. Your mind is like, it's a bad idea. I'm probably going to fail. I'm probably going to do, and you see how that creates delays, because there is all this momentum that is going north, let's say, and your ring finger is trying to go south. And even worse if you're unclear about your intent, or if your intent is seated in the wrong direction. So you can set out to create this dream or this goal or this manifestation or this partnership with somebody. But deep down, you're actually sabotaging it because perhaps you're moving in the wrong direction. So alignment is about pulling all of the pieces of the inside, all of the pieces of your consciousness, your subconsciousness, and your emotional templates. They need to be organized and all going in the same direction. And that means that you will say no to things that are not in alignment. You will have boundaries. You will have self-respect. You will have a direction. And this is important because when you are shaping your world, and there are times to be receptive, and there are times to be fluid and in flow, but when you are in the other polarity, where you need to take the reins of your life, where you need to embody the drive and form, then alignment is one of the most important things that you should write down, think about, talk about, and deeply explore. Because where I see a lot of people and my client work especially go wrong is when they will let the mind lead and the subconscious or the heart want something else. And they'll make all the decisions from what seems like a good idea. And then they'll get into some really tricky situations because their soul, their subconscious, their intuition is pulling them somewhere else. It can take many different forms. But another tricky manifestation that I see is when people are not clear about their true intentions and the way that they bridge realities with other co-creators is messy, because they'll say they want one thing, they'll even state it, but then they'll be working towards something else. And depending on the level of maturity of people and the type of domains that are being worked on, this can be really messy. Human beings are messy because of this reason, because of these secret intents that people have that they don't recognize. And in some cases, it creates disaster. Actually, it does. And so when you are applying this to your life, all you have to do is to get really, really clear on your motivations, your why. You do that first, and then you can get to the what. And I agree with other people when they say to let go of the how and to actually let the universe work on your behalf. Because when you over attach to the how, it actually trips you up, because it may not be the best way. And very often, and this is what Bashar teaches, and I absolutely agree, very often our position of consciousness and intelligence and experience is limited relative to where we're working towards, because we are on this journey of evolution. So when we say we want X, we naturally problem solve of how to get it. And when we over attach to how we're going to solve that problem, what happens is we limit ourselves from our fullest potential, because as we keep growing, as we keep expanding, as the universe keeps co-creating with us, it opens up abilities and possibilities that we never saw coming, that we never could have predicted. I watched this TikTok recently of this woman. I'm not sure who she was, but she had a beautiful quote where she said something, this is not verbatim, you don't know how good it can actually be. And because you don't know how good it can actually be, you don't even know what to ask for. And what she was saying is, when you are from a position where you're at right now, and you fast forward 5, 10, 20 years into the future, and you look back, you see yourself as, I don't want to say childish in the derogatory term, but almost naive, to where you look back and you think, wow, I never could have imagined that I was going to get here. I never thought I was going to do this. And so as a result, when you over-attach in today's moment to the how, then you get tripped up in this consciousness trap, when all you have to do is to make sure that your alignment is really, really clear, and it will affect every part of your life, because it will give you the ability to make the correct decisions that will actually get you to the what, while letting the universe figure out the how. And at each step of the way, you can check in with yourself to make sure that you're still in alignment. And this is actually a much more convoluted process than I think people give credit towards. It is actually a very dedicated process, to where you might think that you're in alignment with something, you set off in that direction, And yes, it's better than where you've been. But then you realize that it's not quite hitting the way that you expected. So then you tweak it and you shift, and then the minute hand clicks to another minute. And you've pivoted a little bit. Or you started a new project, and then you realize, wait a second, this is so much better. But there's still something that's not quite vibrating at the right degree, so you do it again. And it is this process of finding your alignment that works.